Amit, I'm curious, what are you seeing from around the world?
I mean, we all expect to see innovation, but what I'm seeing also today is ambition. If you think of the evolution of open banking, we started off in UK, and UK is still considered as the gold standard. We clearly saw Australia taking the concept from open banking into open data. We saw Brazil taking the concept into open finance. But what is more interesting today is the extent of open banking ambition, which I see in regulators who are trying to introduce this in other parts of the world, especially Asia. I have been working extensively in Middle East for the past few months, and the scope, the desire, and the extent to which the regulator is willing to go through to introduce open banking is massive. Just to put things in perspective, we probably have 4 use cases in UK. We have 7 to 8 in Brazil. We have 35 in the Middle East.
Wow.
That is where I think open banking is going now. So what I think will happen is regulators will learn from regulators. Regulators will try to improve upon what the previous regulator has done, and open banking will go more and more mainstream.
So key word there you use is ambition, and I just want to touch on, before we bring Eddie in, on what regulators are doing, because you and I, Open Banking Excellence and Accenture, we worked on the Global Open Finance Index, and there the data actually clearly showed that in a regulatory environment you're going to go further, faster. The adoption for larger, more complex use cases is far more pronounced than in a market that is neutral, or where it's sort of a bit of a hybrid model. So is that what you're seeing, that when you're Accenture supporting regulators, you get that larger scale adoption?
So I think you get standardization, you get policies, you get the common market infrastructure, but it is really up to the market and the participants to actually build the use cases and do it. So I think the regulator's role is always of a catalyst. You can only catalyze the ecosystem, and it's up to the market participants to drive it forward.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So the regulation starts it, but the market has to drive it forward. It can't be reliant. So I want to come back now, more talking about the use cases, because it's all about the use case. We've got Eddie with us, and it's the first time that you two have actually seen each other in person, which is really, really special. What are we seeing in Brazil? Yeah, talk to us about the use case in Brazil, and then we can widen it out to the rest of the world. Eddie.
Perfect. So as Amit pointed out, Brazil is one of the largest ecosystems of open banking all over the world. Right now we have 3.5 billion API calls per month, and we have 20 million active concepts. So we are just starting, and we are already one of the largest in the world. And as Amit pointed out also, Brazil has open finance, so it's not only open banking, we are looking to more than banking, we are looking to insurance, for example, investments, payments, of course. And right now we are in the payments initiation phase, so we have a lot of new payments initiators in the country. And what is very unique about Brazil is that even though most of the regulation was kind of, copied, let's put it this way, from the UK. UK was really the standard to follow. Mm-hmm. In the case of payments initiation, what Brazil found out is that the customer experience of the redirect, once you have to do the payment initiation, you have to redirect to your original bank to give you the consent. It found out it wasn't a good payments experience, consumer experience. So what we are doing now, we are reviewing this whole experience, and we are building a no redirect payments initiation. So I think this is going to be kind of unique. Of course, we are following the standards a little bit of India and how it works there with OBE, and so I think this is going to be a little bit different in Brazil.
So Brazil leading the way?
Yes, in a sense, yes.
And I wonder which will be the next country even, to adopt that. Let's watch this space.
Exactly.
So that's really open finance. On the 4th of May last year, they adopted open finance as opposed to open banking. So we've talked about Brazil and know that Accenture are very, very active in the Middle East. Can you share with us, Amit, some of the use cases that you're seeing in the Middle East, please?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of interesting use cases which we haven't seen considered before. So we are seeing use cases like letter of credit for businesses, which I think is very, very useful, very, very pertinent and practical. We are seeing price comparison, especially for insurance products, very similar to what we see in UK through through the likes of Compare the Market, but very much driven through APIs and much more real-time and effective.
So you said there was how many use cases in the Middle East, in Saudi?
35.
35?
In UAE.
In UAE as well.
Use cases.
35. So you've talked about letter of credit. What are the other ones to inspire other countries to adopt them?
I think there is a lot around insurance, wealth management, forex. So all of the use cases which we have typically seen large multinational banks do in the space of commercial corporate banking are getting standardized now as a part of those regulations. So for example, is FX, treasury, transaction banking, liquidity management, all of that, investment banking, wealth management, stock quotes, insurance, everything is under scope right now.
That's quite a shopping list. So more open finance. So the UK needs to start to catch up with that. So it's really other parts of the world that we can be inspired by. Yeah? Which is quite humbling, really, because having led the way for so long. Mm-hmm. So one of the words I want to pick up on, Amit, is ambition. Okay, and I think that's one word that we need to be talking up. So Brazil isn't short of ambition. What's happening next in Brazil?
I think now we're going to see a lot of more in the coming phases. Maybe we're going to see more use case around credit, because we didn't start yet too much about these use cases yet, and I think there's a lot of potential in Brazil to open up credit, for the whole country once we have open finance instituted.
Okay, so more credit in Brazil. What other ambition are you seeing around the world?
I think we will start seeing more and more regulator-driven but commercial use cases coming out around the world. And a great example of that is variable recurring payments, or VRP, in UK. It's probably one of the first use cases which is regulator-driven, but has big commercial implications for the service providers because you can charge for it, and you are allowed to charge them. I think we will see a shift towards that model, where there'll be a set of what I call as foundation use cases, which will be free to the participants, and then there will be advanced use cases which the participants can monetize. But the important thing is you need to have the foundation use cases first, create the necessary basic infrastructure and operating model before you can advance to if you can progress to the more advanced use cases.
Okay, so that's some sound advice for everybody watching this. I'm curious, as we begin to wrap up, what are we going to be seeing this year, from this Money 2020 to when we all convene again in Amsterdam next year? What are the big milestones that are going to happen?
I think we will see more international adoption. I think the biggest one I'm waiting for is US. What they announced in the previous Money 2020, that actually coming to life a bit more and becoming more clear. It's one of the largest financial markets, as we all know, so it's very important, and I think they will drive the progress going into the future. I think across all key markets we will see more and more participants and numbers going up, and this finally becoming mainstream. Gone will be I think next year we will not talk about single-digit adoption in key markets. We'll talk about larger markets where 20%, 25% of the people or active population is using open banking.
That's some ambitious growth. So what are we going to be hearing about from Brazil that move at a phenomenal pace? You guys aren't short of ambition in Brazil.
Yes, and I think now there's going to be also international expansion, like Amit was saying. So from Brazil, we are seeing a movement towards other countries in Latin America. So we are starting to see in Chile moving towards the legislation also, and also Colombia, and we have been working with them. Now, of course, Mexico has started already. So we seem to be moving towards, Brazil towards other countries in Latin America.
Mexico were first out the blocks 2018 to get their regulation,
exactly.
And we saw that in the index. They need to lace up their trainers and get moving a little, don't they?
Exactly.
And I hear that they are. Okay, Amit and Eddie, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. And it's quite special that this is the first time that you two have met.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
With the pandemic, everything was done in the little screen,
Yeah, it was
so
indeed.
Finally, we can meet.
And lovely to be here in person. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.